Welcome to the Exchequer Introduction to OLE help video by HBP Systems. So OLE is the link to allow you to pull information from Exchequer or push information back to Exchequer using Microsoft Excel. So the powerful tools allow you to view in Excel an extensive set of live details from your accounts. For example, sales and purchase balances, general ledger balances, stock, location and job costing figures are obtainable through OLE. Some functions also allow you to put figures back into Exchequer, and those are the OLE saves. So for example, you might want to update customer area codes, stock descriptions, stock prices, budgets, nominal journals, that kind of thing. That's all available to do through OLE. So the main basis for creating Exchequer reports in OLE is by using the data query wizard, which can be accessed by selecting add-ins in Exchequer. Your OLE add-ins must be installed on your machine to enable you to get to this option. So if you don't have that add-ins in Exchequer box, you will need to install the OLE add-ins, and we do have a help video that you can follow to assist you with that. The first thing that I would always advise doing when you're building an OLE spreadsheet is to put your company name in the first cell at the top here. So that is actually a code that is pulled through from your multi-company manager. When you first log into Exchequer here, it's the code for whichever company you're trying to log into at the time. So let's say, for example, we want to pull information through from this company. We'd go to add-ins and we'd go to Exchequer, and this is basically showing us we can pull through a list of cost centres, a list of customers, a list of departments, GL codes, jobs, locations, stock or suppliers. For the purpose of this exercise, I might want to pull through a list of customers. So this is just going to pop a little data query wizard down at the bottom here. And the first thing that you'll get is asking you which company you want to pull that information from. So if you had more than one company installed on that multi-company manager, they would all be displayed here. So I'm going to select my demonstration company and select next. And it's just asking me for a login. So when your user rights are created in Exchequer, you'll be given access to Exchequer OLE. If you don't have the OLE module access given to you when your password is first installed, then you won't be able to access these figures via here. So you would need to speak to your line manager just to ask them to enable that within your password settings. It's asking me if I want to filter the list that I'm pulling through. Well, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm just going to pull through a full customer list. Select finish. It's pulling through all of the customer account codes directly from that company for me. So at the moment, that's just a customer code. It doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. So I may want to pull through that customer name. If I go to this little FX button here to insert a function, and from this drop-down list, just select user-defined, and it's always user-defined you need to select if you're using the Exchequer functions. This is then going to give me a list of all available functions that I can pull through. So for the purpose of this exercise, I know that the field that I need is end cost name. And if you're quick enough and you know what the function is, you can actually just type that onto your keyboard and it will find that for you. The first thing I'm going to do is it's asking me which company that I want to pull this information from, which is my ZZZZ01. I could just type that into here, but what I'm going to do is point it back to cell A1, and I'm just going to use my function key to toggle. And if I press that once, it puts $1 in front of the A and $1 in front of the 1. And it basically means it's locking this, so it's always looking at cell A1 to pull through that company code. I'm going to do a similar thing with the customer code, and I'm going to say that I want to pull my customer codes from column A. You can see this is flashing on the bottom here, so it's popping up and it's asking me for a login again because it knows that I'm going to pull through sensitive information. Okay, and what I'm going to do with this, I'm just going to use that F4 to toggle again, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to toggle it and press it a few times so that that $1 is only appearing in front of the A. So what that's doing is it's locking the column A. It's always looking in column A for the customer code, but you'll see shortly as I drag this formula down, it's going to copy it down. So if I select OK here, and just resize my cell, it's telling me that AB APA 1 is AB Applications Limited. And all I'm going to do to copy that down is just double click this little box in the corner here. And what that's doing is it's looking at each particular account code to pull through its name. And because I locked that cell A, the column A, it's always looking at column A, so it's going to look at the very next account code as I pull that down. Now we might want to show, for example, the customer address line 1. So I go to insert another function. User defined, it's remembered that from last time. And I now know that I need entcust add for address. And again, it's asking me the company, so I'm going to look back to this cell A1 again. I'm going to press my F4 button once just to lock that. It's asking me for the customer code again, so I'm going to look at this column here. I'm going to press my A4 button, my F4 button once, twice, 3 times to lock column A. And it's asking me for the line number. So in Exchequer, obviously there's multiple lines of address. Which address line number do I want to look at? So for example, just line 1 and select OK. Extend my column again and just double click that to copy it down, and that's now pulling through line 1 of the address. Now you may be thinking, how do I know which function it is that I need for what I'm trying to get out of Exchequer? In Exchequer there are some really useful help files for the OLE. If you go to help and help contents, what that will do is over on the left hand side it will open up all of your help that you can get to via Exchequer. If I open the Exchequer OLE help and go to OLE Functions and look at categorical reference, so it's grouping everything together here. So it's looking at my customer, supplier, general ledger and miscellaneous gets, so information that I'm pulling out of Exchequer, or my job costing, stock and location gets. It's also got a library for your customer, supplier, general ledger, miscellaneous saves, so information that you've got the ability to save back to Exchequer. The job costing, stock and location saves, and if you do use the module, the application and valuations. So for the purpose of this exercise, we're just looking at the customer information at the moment. So if I was to go into the customer gets, this is giving me a breakdown of every single formula I can use for the customers. A lot of them are pretty self-explanatory. So phone number, for example, is entcust phone. If you wanted to look at their default cost center, entcust CC, you've got entcust balance, entcust address, area, and so on. So if I just look at this entcust address here that we've just used, it's telling me what information it needs to give me that information back. So for the address, I need to tell it the company code, the customer code, and the line number. And everything that's underlined in here you can click on. So it's explaining to me here exactly what that company code is. It's explaining to me here exactly what the customer code is, and the line number, it's obviously giving me the information that it can either be 1 to 5, depending upon what line of that address is required. So you can see that using this library you can start to build up some quite complex OLE reports. You can get to your customer balances, you can get to customer aged balances, payment terms, all sorts of things on there. Same for your general ledger balances, anything miscellaneous that you need there, and any supplier information as well. Just to show you an example within this introduction of an OLE save, I might decide that I'm going to go through an exercise of updating everybody's addresses, for example. So I know that AB Application Limited, they no longer are on Russell Industrial Estate, they may now be on Woodhouse Road. And Ace Electrical Suppliers are no longer in Hilton House, they are on 5 High Street, and so on. If I want to save this information back to Exchequer, what I can do within this next column is insert a new formula. Again, it's remembering the user defined, and then I know now that I need to look for ent_cust save address. So it's asking me for a little bit more information this time. It's asking me which company again. So again, I'm just going to select cell A1 and I'm going to press my function key once to lock that down. It's asking me for my customer code. So that's in cell A3, and I'm just going to press that F4 button 3 times to lock the column A. It's asking me which line number I want to save this back into. So that's line number 1. And it's asking me for the column where my new address is. So that's in D3, and I'm just going to toggle this F4 button again to lock that column D, so that when I copy that down, it's copying it down each row at a time. And you can see here it's telling me that that's saved, so I'm just going to drag it down here as well. And if we nip into Exchequer and just have a look at these 2 customers, we'll be able to see that the addresses have updated to Woodhouse Road and High Street respectively. Okay, so line 1, Woodhouse Road, and line 1, 5 High Street. One thing to be careful of with your OLE saves is if you were to save this spreadsheet, as it is at the moment, you need to be aware that every time you then reopen it, your OLE saves are just going to do their thing and they're going to save back. So what I always say to people really is once you've ran with your OLE saves, just delete that column so that it's no longer going to do that. There are some further things that you can do, such as writing in formulas and if statements so that you've got a little switch that you need to switch, like a little toggle at the top of your screen, as to whether you want to save back information or not. That is covered more advancedly in the OLE manual and in OLE training that we can provide if you require. The purpose of this video really was just to give you that little introduction of how you can start pulling information from Exchequer into your spreadsheets, and also information that you can save back into Exchequer from OLE. It can be quite useful when you're wanting to update prices and things like that, so you can pull through a list of all of your prices and then do a little calculation in Excel if you were uplifting them all by 10%, for example, and then save that back to Exchequer in literally 5 minutes, which is saving you time having to go into every single stock item, as you can imagine, and updating that in OLE, directly in Exchequer. Obviously with the help files as well, then that will allow you to build up a little bit of a knowledge base as to exactly everything that you need to create those OLE reports, as we said earlier down here, and in the OLE functions, and categorical references. So thank you for watching the introduction to OLE, and I hope that that gives you a little bit of information to go and build upon. If you've got any questions, please contact the help desk, and obviously we can organise training for you if you require some further in-depth knowledge on how to run with the OLE. Thank you for listening.